On today's episode, we're joined by professional footballer Angelina Nixon, who currently plays for Rugby Borough Women. Ange attended the under-14s England camp and later at 18 suffered a knee injury whilst playing for Birmingham City. Cementing her faith in God has helped shape her into the athlete that she is today, where she hopes to continue her path in women's football and inspiring the younger generation. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I am really excited for this one because you are our first female footballer on the podcast. And as huge women's football fans, I think we're going to have a really great conversation. But something that we like to do with all our guests, first of all, is what are 3 interesting facts about you?
So I don't eat meat from the supermarkets. I only eat meat from the butchers. I don't have I don't have a middle name, and I go to church every morning. They're my 3 facts.
Every morning?
Every morning, yeah. Like not on services. It's just go there on my own, pray and stuff. So.
They were quick off the bat there.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that.
And they're all so different.
Yeah.
You've got a really cool name though. Angelina, isn't it? And I think it just rolls so nicely.
Such a nice name.
Do most people call you Ange though?
Yeah, it's annoying. The only person who calls me, obviously if my manager's angry, you'll go, Angelina. But yeah, my mum. But I do prefer Angelina because I was going to be called Angel.
Okay.
And then she made it longer just in case I wasn't an angel, but she was like, just in case.
Would you say you are an angel? Or would
Yeah,
your mum say you are?
Yeah. But she didn't want it to be shortened to Ange. She was like, don't want it.
So how was that so?
I can't help that, can I? Because football, you have to call someone by their short name. You can't really shout Angelina. And it has to be either Ange, yeah. So I'm stuck with Ange.
Lena could have worked.
Lena, yeah. Takes it away from the Ange.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
There you got 2 to switch
Wow.
with.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Lena, to be honest. That'd be a good one. Might say it.
Cool. Should we get into it then?
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so firstly, we're going to take it right back to your childhood and school. So it's a 2-part question. So the first part is, what was life like growing up?
So I feel like always had this feeling inside me of obviously I've been growing up with 2 older brothers, so I've always wanted to fight to be better than them, and them always doing really good stuff. So I'm I want to do something better than you. So I always had that urge inside me to be better than my brothers. So that's where it's got me today, being a footballer, trying to beat them. I don't know why I've got that feeling, but it's competitiveness, yeah. Yeah, that's with that.
And then the other question is, can you talk us through your journey into football? So how did you get into it?
Yeah, so when I was 5, I remember my dad was a manager, so he was training my brothers, and it was always he never really acknowledged me. So I was like, right, how do I get my dad to acknowledge me, kind of thing. So he's teaching my brothers, and then he, instead of sitting on the sideline watching him play, I was like, I'm just going to go and play. And I feel like I didn't have that scaredness of their boys. I was a lot of girls would be like, oh no, because I had that strength to, I don't care if they're boys, I'm going to go join in. So I went and joined in, and I actually done all right, and I feel like I put in a big tackle. I wasn't scared at all, so I weren't out of place, kind of thing. So that's how I started watching my 2 brothers play and wanting to play with them.
Did you play football in school? Or were you into sports in school?
Yeah, so I used to play in school. It was mainly girls, but yeah. I feel like I always hang around with the boys because it was I got on with the things they want to do rather than the girls were just playing with dolls and stuff. And I was with boys, they were playing football. So I always felt like the only girl really playing with the boys. None of the other girls were interested. So yeah, I used to play with the boys quite a bit in school.
How are your brothers with you now, knowing that you play for a really cool team?
They boast it to all their friends, really. They're like, oh, my sister's pro. They're the kind of people who said, oh, I could have went pro, if I didn't get into drink or girls, they say. Because my older brother was really, really good, as talented as me, but he went down the route of, drinking, going out with his friends and getting, having a kid young. So it was he respects me in the fact that, he had the talent. We probably close talent-wise, but, I pushed, I had to drive and he didn't. Yeah. So he's, not so, he should be a bit jealous, but also, at least all the playing in the gardens come to something rather than just, yeah, he's proud, but also a bit jealous, which he would be, because he's put so much hard work in as well. So.
And what was school life like for you? Were you quite an academic student?
Yeah, so I can never focus on I wouldn't say I'm book smart. I was always just I want to do PE. That's the only thing I was interested in. So I feel yeah, if there could be a school of just football, I'd do that, because I just feel that was the only thing I'm interested in. today, like all I want to do is football, like obsessed over it. And I feel like, imagine if I could do every lesson going back, how much hours, like if I put it into football, how much better I'd be now. So I don't know, that is a hard one, being an athlete. Like if I've become a teacher said to me once, like, you're never going to make football into a career, because I weren't listening or something, and that gave me like fire to be like, nah, I will.
Yeah, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like teachers do that on purpose. So we've had like previous athletes saying the same thing, where they like really plant that seed in your brain to maybe test you.
Yeah, give you a push.
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is interesting. Of like, I don't know if I've met a footballer who's been like, I've really liked school, because I just didn't. I only liked PE really. So yeah, that's interesting.
So I believe that you were involved in the under 13, 14 England camps, a couple of them. So can you talk us through sort of like that journey and like getting into that, and what was that like for you?
I feel like at that age is so, I don't know, so like trying to fit in with everyone and do the right things, and like, I don't know, I feel like when I went in there, I didn't know anyone. I had to sleep in like a room, because obviously it was hotel, sleeping in a room with a girl I never knew, and it was so strict. Like I weren't used to, they were like training 2-3 times a day, making you eat really healthy, and I was like, I ate junk before that, so it was a bit like extreme, like just playing football for fun to, right, this is serious, so like literally like a robot. So I was just like really pressured going into it, and getting there. They were making you do like wee tests in little wee tubes and stuff, and one morning I couldn't like go for a toilet, I couldn't wee, and I said to them like, I can't do it, and I think they took that a bit funny. They were like thinking maybe I'd done drugs or whatever, but I literally couldn't go to the toilet because I was maybe like nervous or whatever. So it was a bit like, I don't know, I felt so pressured doing it, but I did really enjoy it and stuff. It was interesting, but I feel like I needed that break after to be like, I took a break off football to then go back to want it even more, because I felt like everyone was forcing me to do it rather than, I don't know, it was just a bit of a shock to the system of how professional it was going to playing like just like Cambridge United to England. But I'd definitely be able to deal with it now. But 13-year-old Ange was like, whoa, just.
It's a lot of pressure, isn't it, at that age? For sure, a lot of pressure.
Like thinking back to when I was 13, I think I was deciding like what pair of socks to wear to school. So that sounds so intense.
Do you think the pressure from that, and like you said, from other people, led to that break?
I think, because even like, I never used to stay even at my friend's house, let alone staying with like random people, and I never thought I'd have to stay away that age being football. But I feel like, yeah, sometimes you have to take the break to step back and say, no, I actually want to do it, rather than, your parents forcing you, or your teammates or the team you've got you into football. But yeah, I definitely, if I could go back, I'd definitely do it right, but obviously you can't. So
You learn, and I think at that age you're so young. But I think to be able to recognise that you needed to take a step back is like a really mature head to take that step back at that age. So, and you're back to it now, and you're obviously really enjoying it.
Yeah, and
like,
now I'm
more hungry than ever.
And I live in a player's house with footballers, so I'm doing it what I thought I couldn't do. Obviously, it was the first time, it was a shock, but yeah, we live in a player's house in Coventry, away from my family and stuff, so I managed to get used to it. But yeah, it's good.
Our special guest, the fly, just like flying around.
What's that like, living in a house with all your teammates? Because you must obviously spend all your time together. It's like living and working together.
It's obviously, all I like talking about is football, and they're like, sometimes, Andrew, don't want to talk about football, like leave football on the pitch. But yeah, like we'll lose a game, and I'll come back and I'll be like so obsessed with like, what did I do wrong? I'll have it on the TV and like playing it, and someone's like, don't want to watch us just lose. But yeah, it's interesting because we've got 3 wingers in the house, so we're all fighting for the same position, and obviously it's not fair sometimes when you feel like you've got good news, you want to tell everyone, you have to hold it back, you have to also think about their feelings of like, some girls aren't even getting in the squad, so it's like I'm moaning about coming off, or like moaning about stuff where they're not even getting the chance, so you have to be aware of how you talk and like maybe your accomplishments, because you don't want to like boast as well. And I don't know, it's hard sometimes, especially like if you're competing for the same spot. So it's, sometimes I feel like I just want to break, but then it's good living with them as well.
Sure.
It's a hard one.
You know, sorry to interrupt, you just mentioned there how you will watch your match back. Do you find that helps you for your development?
yeah, I feel like on the Sunday when I watch it back, it's emotions like they're doing wrong and like blaming other people and also blaming yourself. But definitely, I feel like 2 years, no, about a year. I only started watching football about a year ago, so I didn't watch it at all because I was like, that's boring. I'd rather be on the pitch playing, that kind of thing. I didn't think like I benefited from it, but my manager was like, you need to watch football for you to get. Because I've always been really good physically, really good technically, but tactically has always been like my downfall of like understanding, like making the like clever runs rather than just like, yeah, I'm really good on the ball, really good physically, but that tactics where you get from watching football, like how does it all work? And my game's improved massively since watching football, because I've never supported a team, so I've never wanted to watch it, but like I do it to get better. Yeah,
That's really
so
interesting.
I kind of have to force myself.
I find that really interesting, actually, that you didn't watch football before.
No, I don't like watching it. It's just
So, do you support a team now?
No.
No, you just took a game on. Any game or
any game. Like, either watching me or I'd watch all the Premier League games, thinking like the person in my position, how do they do that? What are they doing?
That's clever.
Rather than like watching the game, just watching that position,
analysing that one person more so.
Do you watch so you're watching the match in total? So you're watching essentially both teams, how they will counteract.
Yeah, like defending and attacking. And I've always been way better at attacking rather than my defensive roles. Sometimes I don't really think about and let the team deal with it, but I have to do both. But
that's really interesting.
Yeah, there you go. That's a fourth interesting fact.
Yeah,
yeah, it is quite weird because I feel like I'm quite rare in that sense, where most players all support like big supporters on teams. Where I'm like, no, I'm not really interested in it. Like, I feel like if I don't play football, I wouldn't be interested in it at all.
Do you see it more as that's your job, that's your business, and it's not really like a hobby?
No, because it's weird, because I would play football for free, and obviously I did when I was younger, and like obviously in the last few years I'm finally getting paid for it, but I love playing, and like, yeah, that's a hard question actually. Yeah, I feel like after football, after playing it, I won't want to do any sort of managing or coaching. I want to just completely disappear. So definitely starting off loving it, but now, yeah, it's definitely my job kind of thing, but I do love it.
That's cool though.
So nice to hear like another female talk about how passionate they are about football, because I find it still really rare and not many females talk about it. So that's really, really nice.
Yeah, because I feel like if I was to do any other job, I've always struggled. Like I've never really worked, but football's like don't actually feel like working. I feel like I used to choose to do this for free, and I used to like it don't feel like I'm going into work, because like instead of watching the clock go down and thinking, oh, I want it to finish, I'm like, right, 5 more. Can we do 5 more? Can we do 10 more? Like I'd play football every minute of the day if I could, and that to realise that's my job is like literally a dream.
Yeah,
I'd never feel like I'm working.
Yeah, you can hear the passion in your voice. I love that,
and how much you just light up like a light bulb.
Yeah,
right? You're like beaming, like yes, please. More. So we spoke about obviously what it's like to live in the player's house. So what is the atmosphere like when you're in the locker room before the game, and how do you mentally prepare for it?
I don't know, because normally I'm quite like loud, like going into things, like, but like before a match I just want to be quiet in myself, not really like talking to people, just letting myself just be quiet and not really, just in the zone. I feel like whenever the manager talks, it's so passionate. He does like a motivational speech, which is really nice. But listening to him, I don't know, I feel like there's leaders that talk and stuff like that, but I'm always quite quiet before a game and just, like, I always do deep breaths and visualise myself scoring and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm quite quiet before a game. That's just my sense of thing. But I don't know for other people what they like doing.
Do you do visualisation on your own, or do you do it like as a team?
On my own.
Yeah.
So like in the morning, like obviously I pray. I'll include meditating and like going, right, I'm going to score. I'm picturing my like the goal, the ball going into the corner and me celebrating and everyone around me and stuff like that. So I always do it, even if I don't score. And I'll say stuff like, "Oh, I smell goals today," and like, "I'm going to score too." Just putting it out there, what I'm going to do, and being confident.
Manifest.
Yeah. I find visualisation actually quite a useful tactic. We used to use visualisation before we used to compete, but we'd do it as a team. So we'd all lay on the floor, and the music would go on, and then we'd all just go through the routine in our head.
It was so helpful.
So what did you do?
So cheerleading.
Oh, you done cheerleading.
So we were competitive cheerleaders, and so we would like lay down, and then because you've got like your flyers, your bases, your back spots, and you tumble in or dancing, and I find visualisation really helpful because it's like you're gonna hit, it's not gonna fall. But then sometimes, like before, like I'd go to bed, like before a competition, and I'd be going over it and I'd be like, what about if this stunt falls? What if I land flat on my face? What if I break my ankle?
Loads of messages from
what
you, 'cause
ifs?
obviously I was your base as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it is those what ifs. And then if you go into something half-heartedly, like it is 50-50. You have to just give it your all. So yeah, I find visualization.
That's interesting because I've never heard of like a whole team doing visualizing.
Yeah.
Normally they've never said, "Oh, all of you do this together." It's more just like individually. I've heard of it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll say something to the manager.
honestly,
All lay down in your locker room.
Yeah, honestly, try it. Even if it's just in training, if you get like 2 minutes, highly recommend it, because you're not actually obviously doing the skill, but the way that everyone is like shouting the counts going and shouting their flyers' names, and we're like, yeah, like you just have to try it.
Yeah.
It's insane.
good.
You can't put it into words. It's really good.
I feel like there's words with our team. Like if I feel like we do it without realising. So like negatively, where people say, "Oh, we've got nothing to lose. The pressure's on them." I don't like when people say that, because it's like, no, we're here to win. Like the pressure's on us to win. So when stuff like, I remember when I played at Norwich, they said stuff like, we're playing Ipswich. Oh, they've got under 21s England. They're going to be England players. Like they're so good, kind of thing. Like, and it's just annoying because I'm always the sort of person, I will win no matter team what we're playing against. So I feel like the whole team should be thinking that, rather than nah, they're the better team. We've got nothing to lose. So
how do you switch it then from that negative to a positive? Is it just within yourself, or do you do it collectively as a team?
I don't know, because I feel like some players do panic on big games and stuff like that, and I've never been the sort of person I'll stay calm no matter who we're playing against. So I think that's just self-belief inside me, of me always thinking I'm the best and I'm always here to win. But then obviously that's a shock when I lose, and that's why it hurts so much when I lose, because I'm not expecting it. But yeah, I just feel like it'd be good if the whole team thought that, because then you just play your normal game, play how you'd normally play, rather than thinking about how good they are.
So when you were with Birmingham City, under 21s, you suffered a knee injury. Can you talk us through that like recovery journey?
So obviously, I'll just explain the injury. So I dislocated my knee, so my kneecap actually popped to the side of my leg, and obviously the physios had to put it back in. So it was a bit like a one always in the back of my head, thinking that was so traumatic. Like the ambulance had to come, put the laughing gas and everything like that. So it was so traumatic, thinking like, is this my career over? And like obviously I had some bad comments from like my older generation family who would just don't know how to say stuff to people, like, oh, that's your career over. And I've heard people say before how they haven't been a footballer because of a bad injury. I was thinking, what is that me? Like just in that category of whenever I was doing rehab and I was in a gym thinking, is this all going to something, or is it going to happen again? And obviously 6 weeks down the line after that rehab, the first training session going back, it's popped straight back out. So it's happened again. So like that happened twice. I came back too quick though. I feel like I was rushing it, saying I'm okay, rather than actually going through the process. So that's happened twice. So then obviously that was 6 weeks. I then had 10 months off. So I was like, right, make sure it's right. Make sure I'd done loads of weights and stuff, getting really strong. So that whole 10 months I was thinking, what if I just go back to training and it happens again? Like, because obviously it's just happened and it popped out. So I actually, the first training session I'd done back, I went in for a massive tackle. I was like, because I was thinking half-heartedly, like if I just go and be all dainty and scared, I thought, right, I'm going to do a big tackle just because I know I'm secure. So I done a big tackle, and one of my teammates was like, all right, calm down. But I was like, I need to, just for my own sake. And then ever since then, I weren't scared. I was like, I've done a big tackle, because it come out through like someone smashing it out the back. It weren't like it was like a freakishly. I'm not naturally, like my knee's not just going to pop out. So yeah, I done a big tackle and was like, right, I'm ready now. But that whole 10 months was such a mental thing, like people saying it's over and all this kind of stuff. And looking back, I just couldn't wait to be on the pitch. And when I got on that pitch, I was like, right, I'm staying here. And luckily, touch wood, like I've never got injured since. Like even before that injury, I didn't believe in injuries. I was like, it's never happened to me until I got a big one. I was like, whoa, injuries are a thing. I've got to get used to this.
Humbled you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it just made me so grateful being on the pitch and knowing a big injury, you can come back from it, because I've happened to me. When people say, oh, like an injury's ruined my career, it's like, well, did it, or did you just not push through it enough?
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always voices in my head, like negative voices, but you just have to ignore. And I feel like I've done that quite well. But yeah.
I feel like those voices are always a good test to be like, okay, so how much do you really want it? And you're like, actually, I really do. You do have to fight them off.
Mentally, how did you overcome that?
Obviously the big challenge, but I just feel like not listening to people, because it was like the only person I need to listen to is myself, and also believing in my physio. He was like, you're gonna be all right, because obviously you get a bit scared, like go in yourself, but trusting your physio, trusting in like the managers around you, and just trusting yourself and your physio, I think is a big thing.
And obviously physically, you're so used to training like every day. What was that like on you not being able to train?
Yeah, so for the whole first 6 weeks, it was like you have to sit on your sofa because I couldn't move my leg. Like, you've got to sit there. For me, who just literally can't sit still, literally like train twice a day and like always in the gym, that was pure torture. I was like, I don't know how to rest. It sounds weird. I was like, I don't know how to just chill for so long. That was just a massive, like for 6 weeks, and I just thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And like, obviously I put on a bit of weight as well being injured. So I was like, I didn't know who I was anymore. So it started questioning your self-worth. And then even like, actually my injury started making me believe in God, because I was like, well, what do I have if I don't have football? Like, the only other thing, because I've got so far, is the only other thing I'm interested in is football. So it's like, right now, what do I do? Like, even like not having that badge on you, like, who is Angelina? But then that's where I started thinking, like, believing in God and giving me faith. Like, faith was a massive thing through that injury, of like praying for my knee to be healed. And I truly believe like that was a big thing for me. And like it took me away from having all them self-negative thoughts and believing. So that helped. But
Okay, so last season you struggled with red cards. Can you talk us through that season and what led to this?
So I feel like having that, like, obviously it's weird because football's 11 players at the end of the day, and I've always got this thing of like being in control of, like, I feel like I could win the game, but I could also lose the game, and like trying to be in control of every player rather than just focusing on what I'm doing. And the first one was like red handballing it off the line, so like I basically converted into a goalkeeper for a second, like, and I was like, that's not me not trusting the goalkeeper behind me. And I feel like I was nervous. I didn't trust my team around me at the start of the last season. I've just joined rugby, so it was like, well, I'm going to try to do everything, and you can't with 11 players on the pitch. So that's not trusting the players around you. But I feel like now I definitely trust players and letting them do what they're doing, and you can't, like, don't try and control everything. And like, I've got a bit of a streak of anger in me where if someone does something to me, like, I'll get in my head focused and be like, right, you're gonna get it, like laser focused. But like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And that's like maturing, isn't it? That was my younger self, and I had it way more as a kid, because I used to, like, if my brother used to get me, I'd be like, right, you're getting it, but then you're not gonna get a red card for that, are you? You're just gonna get told off from your mum. So I feel like, just getting rid. Like, obviously, I'm gonna keep that. I don't know what to call it, like the fire inside me of like to get people, but do it in the right ways. And I was doing, like, my last one was, so I got 3 red cards. One of them got appealed, so it wasn't actually supposed to be a red card, which was nice. And then the third one, I done like a stupid tackle in the middle of the park, like studs up and stuff. But
Ouch.
it was having that anger. And before that game, it's like you can't control. I didn't have a good morning before that game. I had an argument with a couple of teammates. And I went into that game so angry, and I felt like I needed to release it. And maybe that's where I say to my manager, like, maybe I shouldn't play today's game. Like, but then that's like, well, how do you play well with not things going right in the morning? You have to adapt to things not going well. So I've just learned from that, and I don't think, like, this season I haven't done anything like erratic. I think Nottingham Forest was a big game for us, and I got a yellow card in the first 10 minutes, and I was like, everyone was coming up to me going, Ange, keep your head. And I was thinking, you're making it worse. Like,
so I tell someone to calm down.
Everyone was panicking, obviously, because of my streak last season. But I was like, I trust myself. I know I've matured, and I'm not worried about so much. And I don't have that anger, like, to do that to people now. So it was annoying as well, because the girls, like, everyone knows I've been, like, got red cards from the season. So everyone's thinking we want to get a sent off. And that was funny, because last season one of my players from MK was like, our game plan was to get you sent off, and I was like, oh my God. They were like, we know the person, because I played for MK Dons, we know who you are. And it was like, right, we know she's going to lose her head, let's get her sent off. But now it's like, how do I be clever? How do I know, like, outdo him? So at Nottingham Forest, there was a player, she's jumped into me, like, literally jumped into me, and I'm like, well, I didn't even do anything. Like,
want to hug
yellow
just
card, yellow card. So it was like they were planning it as well. So it's like,
that's crazy.
How do I? It's like they're actually planning to do it, so I've actually got to try harder not to get
prove them wrong.
Just for those that don't really understand football. So what happens if you do get a yellow card, and what happens if you do get a red card?
So if you get a yellow card, it's obviously a warning, and you can stay on the pitch. Red card, you're sent off, and obviously you go down to 10 men. But what was hard for me last season, my third red card was I had a 4-match ban, so I couldn't play for 4 games, and I'm a big player in the team, so it was like it killed us, and went to 10 men down, which means they're overloading with players, and they're more likely to win after that because we've went and player down. But I had a 4-match ban, but it lasted for 8 weeks because we had so many weekends off. So it was like 8 weeks no football, and I'm like fully fit, and I'm like training every time, and I like literally got to watch and sit there and like watch my team play, even though I can play. It was just like, it was annoying. But obviously I've learned so much. If I didn't have that like 4-match ban, would I have been sensible this season? Like, because it was such a big thing to me for getting sent off. Like having so much football, it's like punishment, isn't it? You end up learning from the bigger lesson rather than, if you don't really get punished, are you actually going to learn from it?
I was going to say, was that a wake-up call having that ban?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting on that bench sideline watching ever again. I'm like,
And that's
no.
hard as well, isn't it? Because you then sit and watch, and like it's like I could help,
Torture.
but I can't help.
No,
I
it's
can't do anything.
There was my manager, it was a big game against Portsmouth. This was like decide to win the league, whatever. He's looked round, and I'm obviously like, he's looked at me, and he's looked me in the eyes and thought, if I could bring you on right now. And I'm like, just,
And that
Don't
hurts
look
even
at
more.
me.
'Cause it's almost like the disappointment, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like,
it's like,
oh.
we can actually, you're not even injured, but you're just suspended. That's me. That is like, I put my hands up and say that's all my fault for like losing your head, and it's just learning not to lose your head, not to take things personally. If someone's done something horrible in the pitch, as I said, like, be a goldfish, just forget about that horrible thing they've done and carry on. Because if I'm holding a gradual game, all angry and tense, am I going to play best? Because I play best when I'm calm, beating players and annoying players rather than me getting annoyed.
Yeah.
I still can't get over those 2 teams that knew that you basically go steam
Yeah,
out the
it's
ears.
not fair, is it?
That's crazy.
It's also good though because you've learned from that, and you've learned to take accountability for your actions instead of blaming someone else. So that is maturing. So
Well, Nottingham Forest, I managed to last like 70 minutes and not get sent off, even though I got the yellow so early. I was really sensible for that game, and I proved to myself. I actually said after, I was like, proud of you. And the manager said to me, when I come off, he goes, very mature of you, Ange.
Very demure, very mindful.
But if anyone else got a yellow, it'd be like, no one would say anything. Literally, the whole team was like.
do you find that hard though, that the team now probably have a little bit of a perception of you where you get a yellow card and maybe the team start to panic because it's like, shit, like what's she gonna do next?
I know, it's just like, I feel like there's maybe built a bit of trust there now.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, and that's a huge part in a team sport. Like, you've got to have that trust, so you're building on it. So I recently listened to a previous podcast that you did, Performing Under Pressure, and you touched on this in the previous question. You mentioned about faith and God playing like a significant role in your life. Is this something that you've been brought up around, or is this something that you've sort of found more recently?
So it's interesting because, like, obviously I was born into a Catholic family, got baptised and everything, but like my parents weren't so big on it. It was just like more of, oh, we're baptised, like party kind of thing. And I went to a religious school, but I was kind of never taking it in, and it was just like, oh, I believe in God, but do I? Not never actually feeling it. But always like, I was never the sort of person saying, no, I don't believe in God. Like, it's a load of crap. I've never been that kind of person, but I've always been on like, yeah, maybe kind of thing. And obviously, yeah, like when the injury happened to me, that's when I really started believing it. But I went through a really bad patch, like 13, 14, of like getting in with the wrong people and that kind of stuff. So it was like, I seen a dark side of the world where I was like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. And that really helped me, like, seeing the light and live, like, not sinning. And because at the end of the day, that's always going to make you feel worse. It's never going to make you, like, you end up thinking it's making you feel good. But I feel like, yeah, it really made me realise who my friends are, who real people around me, what not to do, what to do. And it's just really helped me through life, and it's just guided me through life rather than, yeah, like, I don't know.
So you
It's guided
recognise
me.
that something needed to change,
Yeah,
and then you've
definitely.
taken upon that. That's really cool.
So how does your faith help you deal with challenges with, obviously you did briefly touch on it with your knee injury, your losses and disappointments?
I feel like as a footballer, like as an athlete, it's all, if you win the game, it's everything, and if you lose, it's like the end of the world. So it's it's just having that voice in the back of your head of thinking, yeah, faith, keep going, and like it's not the end or all, or like nothing bad's gonna happen, and also like living to like help people rather than always thinking like selfishness about yourself, and how can you help the world, help people, motivate it. It's not always about yourself. So like just caring for others, and I don't know. That's such a really hard question. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't believe in God right now. So I always feel like He's saved me, and He's done so much so far. So I'm looking forward to how much I've managed. Like if when bad things happen, normally I'm like, right, just believe something good's gonna happen, and normally it comes around the corner. So just thinking life's not always about good things. Like there is going to be bad times, but I feel like life is a test, and like the struggle is part of the world instead of like, oh my God, and always feeling like the victim as well. Like, yeah, it's all tests, and the main thing is learning from. If you don't learn from something, then there's no point in doing it. And if you keep doing the same bad thing, that's like where it's like I feel like God's going, right, come on now, actually do something. Like stop doing the same mistakes. And I feel like it's just learning, and I feel like it's all a test and like learning curve. So yeah,
I think that's really cool because you can, like when something happens, it's almost like why me, but it gives you something to like focus on and like almost like answers at the end of it. I think it's cool. I want to touch on something that now if you watch women's football or you enjoy women's football, you'll know that there's like a big controversy around it. So this is like what do you think are like the key differences and opportunities and support between like female and male footballers?
Smart. How long have you got?
I just feel like obviously when people say, oh, doctors and footballers, why are they not on the same money and this kind of stuff, they should be getting paid this, but it's like football at the end of the day is a talent. It's not just like everyone can do it. Like there's so many jobs where everyone can do, where footballers like you have to kind of be good and you've got to dedicate your whole life. So it's like everyone sees footballers flance around on the TV and like, oh, why do they get paid so much? But you can't go out drink. Well, some people get away, but you can't go out drinking. You can't, like, you've got to sacrifice your whole life to be a footballer. Like it's not just football at the end of the day. Like even said like ice baths earlier. So I respect the men, like how much they get paid, because it's like they do deserve it. Because I can understand how much you have to sacrifice. But then it's like women's football, we train the exact same as in, like we're full time. Obviously, we do everything the exact same. And it's like, well, why aren't we getting paid the same as you then? Because we're sacrificing the amount they're sacrificing. We're doing the exact training. We're working exactly the same hard, doing the same fitness tests, getting the same ice baths, doing all the hard bits. And it's like, obviously, it all comes down to how much people are interested. But it's like there's so much bad comments. Football is people interested in because of that. Like, say for dads or parents, for instance, telling their kids, "Oh, women's football shit," or sorry, I'm not saying all this kind of stuff. So, are people brainwashing kids to make them think women's football's bad, or do they actually think it themselves? Because why should a little boy, if they're saying women's football's so bad, they've heard it from somewhere. They haven't. They don't just think it. Yeah. So it's coming from other people. But I feel like this like new generation, I feel like it's definitely growing. Like there's people in my team who are 29, 30, and they've been in WSL, and they were like, that was like my part-time job then. So for now to be like tier 3 and it to be my full-time job, they're like, you don't realise how lucky you are. I wish I was your age, because they're coming to the end of the career when it's getting so good. Yeah. But it's like, that WSL weren't even full-time then. So how much it's grown, I feel like I'm just grateful, really. I never really look at men and think like I'm jealous, because it's like I'm so grateful how far women's football's come, and I think that's the main thing. If it's growing now, what about my grandchildren? Like hopefully, I always say my grandchildren, hopefully that's the same. Like they're getting paid the same as men. That's like my goal. So I don't think I will, like my age, but my grandchildren, I was like, right, I've seen. Imagine like my whole life seeing that women's football grow. So that's better than just being the same.
Yeah. Do you think you get similar support as the men's team?
No, I feel like, I don't know, there's some stuff in women's football, like I remember being at Birmingham first team when I was training with them. They were like the top league WSL, so it's like, and they had like a wooden squat in like a tiny little physio room where they had to make it themselves, and they didn't have the space, and it was all, but like, would you ever see that in the men's game? No, you'd never see that. And like, loads of things. Like I played football for 2 years and not getting a paid for thing. I was basically paying to play football, paying for accommodation, and that would never happen in football. And like, yeah, even some footballers do part-time, like they're working in like chip shops or whatever while being footballers. Would you ever see a man doing that? Like, it's never going to be the same. So I just think, yeah, there's so many things, and even we're like full time, but we don't get we don't get fed. So like we have to go and provide our own food. But like in men's football, they're making sure you're eating the right things and stuff like that. So there are things, but then it's just the higher you get. I feel like Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal are very similar. It's just getting there, isn't there? And and even like there's 12 teams in the WSL where men's football is 24, and you think, even that, like, why is there only 12 teams? There should be
I actually thought that the other day when I was looking at the table, and I was like, why are there only 12 teams?
So weird.
But touching on that, like, what changes do you think are still necessary to like push women's football?
I think kids, I think they're going to push, like, most of our fans are kids. Like, we get fans and they're normally kids, so if the kids love it, then they're going to persuade their parents to want to take them. And I like how the commentary and stuff is fair, and like on TV now where there's women commentary, like, because it's like women don't have a voice, or women, but it's like, actually, why do they have less of a voice than a man? So seeing that, how there has to be like a woman commentating or whatever, and like women getting shown on TV, like that wasn't a thing a couple of years ago. So I feel like it is going the right way, but for a change, pumping more money into it. Pumping more
for sure, more money. But it is heading in the right direction. Like you said, like they're now on TV. Things like the Women's Euros next year, like it is going to be on TV. But it's just small things. Like majority of the games are played on like YouTube, whereas you get like one game in the WSL or like two games over Saturday and Sunday on like BBC Two. But it is heading in the right direction. Like you said, like kids are a huge part. Like when I go to watch, I'm an Arsenal fan. When you drop that in there, when I go to like any games, like men or women, like there are kids, but when you go to the women's game, there is a lot more kids, and I think that's what's going to push that generation higher.
Yeah, because they're like, there's not many men, like fully grown men, would be like, oh yeah, I love women's football. Where little boys go, oh yeah, I love women's football. So but then there are fair men. I think most men who say that want to secretly admit it, but they're just like, they just don't want to. They don't want to give women that one over because they think it's all their thing. Because the man like who don't play themselves will be like, oh, women's football's crap. Because he's probably jealous the fact he's not a footballer, and a woman's probably better than him.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
The big question is, what next for Ange?
So I have like a lot of inspirations. I've always like thought in my head like I could potentially be the best player, and I always think in my head I'm the best player. So whatever pitch I step on, I'm like, right, I'm the best player, and I always think I will get to the top of the top. And I know I'm not there yet, but I can just feel this feeling inside me of knowing I'm going to be a big player one day, and I just believe in the process. But having that confidence and going to the championship, obviously I've got to go through the stages step by step, but it's like championship, obviously I'm in tier 3 now, and then at least the championship, then WSL, so I truly believe I'll get spotted one day. And I feel like I'm very different and like unique, the way I play and the style I play, where some managers hate me and some managers like love the fact I'm like a wild card or whatever, but I feel like I will get spotted one day. But so championship, WSL, hopefully like Man City or something, and then I've been learning Spanish to play in Madrid, and that's like my final team to play for Real Madrid, because I'm a big Ronaldo fan, and like obviously what he does on the pitch is amazing, but what he does off the pitch I've always followed. Like I think it truly counts, like what you do off the pitch more than what you actually do on the pitch. So I just try and live by that and do everything I can do off the pitch, what's in my control, and then obviously what happens uncontrollable on the pitch. But just getting them 1% right, like eating really healthy and like training, doing them extra sessions, recovery and that kind of stuff. So if I put everything into it of trying to be the best footballer in the world, I won't feel no guilt if that don't happen. But like say if I didn't, I'd like when I'm 30, 40, like I could have put more in. That's where I'd be like, I'd hate myself because I know I was capable of more, but I definitely feel like I've got the talent and I've definitely got the drive. So let's see where it takes us. I believe in myself. So
and that's the biggest thing. Like you've got to back yourself. Absolutely back yourself. So lastly, what advice would you give to young girls wanting to pursue football as more than a hobby? What would you tell your younger self?
I think a big one is try not to fit in and be who you are. Like, love the fact you're unique, because it's, in this world, it's also like, oh, fit in with people, fit in with this, but it's actually why you're so good and different is because you're unique, rather than always trying to force yourself. And I think it's just a balance between, like, put pressure on yourself, but also remember why you're playing football. Like, instead of thinking, oh yeah, I need to do this, just enjoy actually playing, and then that's when you play best. But I think, like, believing in yourself, and yeah, just, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to, like, look at my younger self. Yeah, don't listen to haters, because they will come, but I always think haters is actually, you should take them as compliments, because I've always had hate, I've always had, like, jealousy, and it's like when I was younger, I used to always bite back, and then I'd look like the bad one. But it's like, going through life having that jealousy, it's like, right, that person's jealous of you for a reason, and not just, like, you're obviously doing something right. So it's a good thing that people are jealous of you. When you're a kid, it's like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. But then when you grow up, you start to think, no, it's actually something wrong with them, rather than, and just always telling yourself that you're going to get far, and yeah, that's just believing in yourself, really.
For sure. Well, thank you. We'll definitely be looking out for your name moving up the ranks.
Remember us.
Yeah. But thank you so much for being our first female footballer. It's been great chatting to you.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. And thank you so much for tuning in on the latest episode. If you like what you hear, as normal, please like, rate and subscribe.
Tune in every other Monday. You don't want to miss out on all the incredible guests we have lined up.
I'm Demi.
I'm Nat. Bye!